Hi, everybody. My name is Debbie Roth, and I am a professional forgiveness coach. And I am honored to be here with you today and to be here with Miss Amy Hruby, a professional life and business coach and founder of Let's Do This. So, welcome, Amy. Great to have you.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Debbie. I'm so excited to be here.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, we're really here today to talk about self-forgiveness and money. So I am doing a 4-month online group. It's going to be really fun and interactive starting in March. And it's a new thing. It's a new topic. And so what better way to share about it than to be here with people like you who have really, from our conversations, like you've really in the past few years especially had tremendous shifts with your finances and with your coaching practice and use self-forgiveness to assist you. So I'm hoping that today is really valuable for the people who are listening, who are watching, to give them just some inspiration to check it out of, what are my own beliefs about money and how might that block me from creating what I want. So welcome, Amy. Thank you again for being here.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, how about we start out by telling us like your story of how you got to where you are, and when did you really start to experience financial success?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, my background is I have my bachelor's in psychology. I graduated from college a long time ago. But, I've done a lot of different roles on the leadership ladder. I mean, I've been an executive assistant, I've been a manager, I've been a director, all the way to VP of operations. But I've always had I always struggled a little bit with money in the sense of I was very responsible about money, but I could never crack, like I would call myself an under earner. And I know in your course, you're going to be working with a book by Barbara Stanny called Overcoming Under Earning. And gosh, it's probably been about 5 years. Yes, I love that. Oh gosh, every time I meet people, you got to buy that book. Every time I read that book, I make more money. I'm not kidding you. But I would say this has been about 7 years ago when I did that book. I realized like I was putting ceiling limits on my income level. And when I first did that book, I said, gosh, if I make $75,000, I'd be rich. Like that would be huge for me.
And just so everybody knows, how much are you making now?
So my income level right now at the end of 2018 was over $200,000. So I hope that doesn't overwhelm anybody. I've done a lot of work to get to that place.
And we'll talk about that, because that can be really assistful to people of like, what was that shift for you? But go ahead. So when you first did the book.
Yeah, I was making like $50,000. So that was about 7 years ago. I had a really good job, but I was working for a nonprofit. I just, which was great. I loved the mission, but it just wasn't bringing enough money. And I realized I had to leave that job in order to kind of branch out. And I got a job as working at a startup, and I was able to get my income level by the time I left there up to the $75,000, which was like, whoa, it was a huge win.
Yeah, so you really got to the place that you were hoping to get to from the book. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it wasn't just from reading the book. I literally did every exercise that Barbara has. The book is very experiential, and most of my learning for me and to have transformation comes from having experiential learning. So for me, it's like I just can't read reading is always the first part to awaken myself, but I have to do the work and take action in order to have the transformation or shift around it. And Barbara talks, about forgiveness in her book, and which is really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the self-forgiveness and money group, we will be working through the chapters of this book. And, they really they assisted me as well in taking a look at what are my limiting beliefs around money. How can I let that go and change them to beliefs that really support me in having a healthy relationship with money and really seeing my own value, as well as getting really transparent with what are my finances and, what ceilings do I have around making money and really being able to receive.
Yes, I mean, and my husband and I, again, I've been married for, John and I have been together 27 years. We've been married, we started dating when we were 23. And, we carried debt for a really long time. And I'm happy to say now, and I did a lot of work and forgiveness around debt. Because a part of us, we started having children. Our oldest is 15. We have a younger son, 10. And, having children also can trigger a lot, like our own abundance stories, even as being parents. And, what I had to do with before we had kids was we knew, because I wanted to stay home for the majority of the time with my children, that we were going to have to take on a certain amount of debt because we were both working at this nonprofit. I was, on maternity leave. Then I only went back to work part-time. So I worked weekends so I could be with the kids during the week, and then John would be with them on the weekends while I worked. And you live in Los Angeles, one of the second most expensive city
Right.
in country. And I was like, how are we going to do this? Like, how can I open my mindset around receiving? And then part of my journey with money has been I really see it as a spiritual experience. Money's just energy, and it's all how we want to co-create and work with it. So that's been my own journey too with it, and reframing that and getting my mindset around the possibility of limitlessness.
That's beautiful. It's like living in possibility rather than limits.
Exactly. And that's where the self-forgiveness came in, because anytime I had limitation around money, it was because of a judgment I had. And
Mm.
I had to really slow down and really get at, what is that? Like, a lot of my judgments around money was that there's never enough, that I don't deserve it.
Wow.
A lot of unworthiness issues came forward around money. And that's when I look at it from a spiritual perspective. If I really believe that God is love and that God's about co-creation, the more I can step into that for myself and forgive those parts that don't believe that. That's
Mm.
why I've been able to take my income level from 7 years ago at $50,000 to now at $200,000. Because as being an entrepreneur now and owning my own business, my source is my higher power, not client, not a corporation. It's all about, how am I going to be of service to somebody? And the exchange of that serviceness is tangible dollars. And the more, again, like I said, the more I let go of all that limiting beliefs around it, the more it's been able to come toward me.
Wow, that's really magnificent. Do you have an example of when you used self-forgiveness to let go of a judgment and the shift that you noticed in your life?
Yeah, I mean, it would have started. I think my first recollection of a self forgiveness I did was when I did Barbara's book, Overcoming Under Earning, and you do a money autobiography. So what that looks like is you trace, like, how was it, what were the stories around money that came in when you were a kid, teenager, young adult, whatever. And my parents, they raised three girls. I'm the oldest of the three girls. And even though they didn't go to college, they were really great about really encouraging us to go, because they knew, because they didn't go, they knew there were certain opportunities that weren't available to them. But my parents, I grew up in a very blue collar. My mom worked at a Dairy Queen for 35 years. My dad, he had a middle management job and then was laid off and never really recovered from that, and always did like hourly wage jobs. That there was a lot of financial stress that happened in our family. And I realized I was still carrying what I would call blue collar mentality around money. Like, you live check to check. There's never enough. You have to work super, like it's survival, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized I was carrying their story as mine.
Wow.
I had different opportunities, and I realized that I had to do a lot of self-forgiveness to go, whoa, what's going to be my story around money? It was a way of really stepping into my authentic self by doing the self-forgiveness. Like, I don't have to carry my parents' money story on. I can choose a different money story for myself, and not like I'm putting them down, but it's just authentic for me. I have such different experiences than they did. That doesn't mean I have to continue their story around it.
That sounds very freeing. It's like really just stepping into this freedom to be who you are.
Yes. And that's been a journey for me for a really long time. I mean, ever since I can little, it's like, who am I? Like, to really answer that question from a place of, yes, I came from a certain family, but then who am I in the family separate from, a lot of, as we say at the university where I went to, it was like a lot of healing on the first chakra, like a lot of tribe. Like, if I'm different from the tribe, will they still?
It's such a great point. I have someone looking at doing the group who is fairly young. She doesn't have any debt. She's living sort of in survival. She's an amazing dancer and has a dance production that she really wants to put out. She lives in New York City. She wants people to buy tickets to come and see her show. And the stories that she received from before when she was younger are, one, that her dance wouldn't amount to anything. And secondly, that if she made money, like that she wouldn't be a part of like the tribe anymore. And it really is powerful to like, well, how do you let those go, those beliefs and messages go, so that you can step into sharing your gifts and being of service and living an authentic, spirit inspired life.
Yeah. And the more I've experimented with that, like taking the risk to see what would happen.
Yeah.
Because it comes from an authentic, inspired place, it's never let me down.
Wow.
Never let me down. And it just got to the point where it was getting more painful and more suffering was happening by not doing it, that I was just like, I'm willing to surrender and let those things go and forgive them in order to really live from a place of that felt authentic. And ever since then, it's changed everything.
Wow. So what can you share a bit about where you are right now, like the company that you started, and then what was like the biggest shift for you to assist you in getting to the place where you are now?
Yeah, so I decided it's been 2 years that I've had the company now. Let's Do This LLC. It is an LLC.
Congratulations. This is a part of your logo.
Yes, thumbs up. Part of that was I was telling Debbie that my favorite emoji is the thumbs up emoji. Like, yeah, man, this is great. And I really like the name Let's Do This because part of the things that really has been freeing for me in starting my own company is our tagline is take one inspired action step. Sorry, my phone is going. I should have turned my phone off.
It's a part of life, right?
So interruptive. But yeah, so the desire to start the company came when I was doing a 6-month coaching program at the University of Santa Monica, where you can get your certificate in soul-centered professional coaching, where Debbie and I were in class together. And I started that program with no job. Like I just, one of the jobs I was working on completed. And I was like, if I'm really going to become and want to do this professionally, I'm going to go full all in. And and my agreements with my husband was that we weren't going to go into debt over the program. It was a $15,000 program, and I was going to start bringing in income. And my goal, I didn't really have as I remember, my goal was definitely to make money and my goal was monthly to bring in $10,000 a month. So if you figure that out, that's about $120,000 for the year. That was a big stretch for me. And the first 3 months, I didn't have any income coming in, and I started getting really bad headaches, and I was getting really stressed out. And that's when I realized that I had to realize that it came through one of the experiential work we were doing within the class, that I was not looking to my higher power, God, spirit, whatever you want to call it, as my source. I was thinking I had to really move into the mind shift that I'm about to co-create with my higher power. This isn't just me doing everything. It's two of us doing it together. And I did a lot of self-forgiveness, any judgments that I had that I felt that I had to do it all by myself, that I'm my source versus, there's another source of energy to draw from. And Steve Chandler told me too, he said, the more you can get and allow yourself to be creative and be uncomfortable within the creative process, the more successful you'll be.
And let me pause you for a moment on that. That's really incredible. So Steve Chandler is a fantastic coach, and he was a part of the Soul Center professional coaching program that Amy and I both attended. And so it sounds like what he's saying is like, listen, you're going to be uncomfortable, that this creative process, it is uncomfortable, and that's a part of it, and that there's such richness in that, and it's like, do it anyway.
Yes. And literally, I mean, I still say to this day, when's this going to end? Like, when am I going to stop?
Right. And isn't it so fulfilling when you do it anyway? And here you are with this incredible coaching practice, starting from a place, 2 years ago where you didn't have a job, where you had agreements with your husband, like, okay, honey, we're not going to go back into debt over this. And I'm going to I'm going to bring in money. And that's like a real leap of faith and a real standing in, like, okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to allow spirit to be my partner. That's incredible.
Yeah, and I started also at the time, I'm going to show everybody, I was showing Debbie earlier, I started what's called the money magnet. I don't know if everybody can see.
This is a real key. This money magnet can be a real key to abundance. So share more, and there's money in there. So share about what the money magnet is and why you started it to bring forward your coaching practice.
So Money Magnet was introduced to me a couple years, probably longer than that, probably about 10 years ago by a man named Paul Kay, who's the president of the church that I belong to. There's also a course on it on Daily Om, O-M, Daily Om. They have a whole course on creating a money magnet. Right. I did a money magnet about 10 years ago. So what a money magnet is, it's you get an envelope and you write on it money magnet. And then for me, I wrote, God is my employer and the source of all my abundance. So the goal is you want to start a money magnet. You could put $5 in it, you could put $1 on it, but it's a way to show the universe that you're willing to attract the money towards you, and you never spend the money in the money magnet. And when I first did it about 10 years ago is when I was home on unemployment. My husband was still at his job, and we just needed more money to come in. And I remember Paul saying, start a money magnet. So I did. About a week, I fed it like $5. A week after that, I started my money magnet. I got a check in the mail for $3,000.
Wow.
From a hospital saying, when I gave birth to my second son, now Caden was 18 months old at the time when I got this check, saying we overpaid the hospital. Yeah. And all of a sudden, like, this money, $3,000.
That's incredible. So what happened when you started this money magnet for your business?
So the same thing, like, I wasn't having any money coming in,
Right.
And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start my money, because I stopped it. I'm gonna start up my money magnet again, and I started feeding it again. And probably about a week or two after I started the money magnet, a friend of mine said, hey, there's this company, these are clients of mine. They're looking for somebody to help build up their coaching practice. They were operationalizing it, and I have experience in that. They want to have a conversation with you, and would you be willing to do it? And I said, sure. Now, again, I said, sure, and I've never done this before with another
Right.
company. And we had a conversation, we really connected, and they hired me as their coaching coordinator. And I get 15% of the revenue. Whatever they sell a coaching platform, I get 15% of it. Now I also have to do work around implementing it. But within that third month of when I was in the program, I billed out $23,000 of business.
Wow.
So I went from zero to $23,000.
Wow.
By doing my self-forgiveness work, by doing the money magnet, by saying yes to things that made me feel uncomfortable, even though I just trusted it. Like I just was like, I have to surrender into the trust that I'm meant to support these people.
That's
And
awesome, Amy. And so tell us all a bit about, I think this will be the final thing we'll talk about, is where you are now with Let's Do It, and what was the shift that brought you to this place of owning your own coaching practice and making the amount that you are with that?
well, it's interesting you say that because, there's still these thoughts inside of me. Like, once I crunched my numbers from last year for 2018, I'm like, wow, $207,000. Is it going to keep going? I said to my friend, like, oh my God, like, she's like, yeah, it's even going to get higher. So now my goal, I'll show you this too. I did this vision board last year at the start of 2018. I'm going to do another one. And you can see on here, I wrote 175K plus. So I surpassed that goal. So my goal for this year is 275 to 300. And so having a target goal helps. And for my business, it's to constantly keep growing and expanding myself, to keep saying yes to the things that make me feel uncomfortable. I just got back from work. One of my clients is training me to be a facilitator, and it's so uncomfortable. But but like, no, you're a natural at this. And part of it has been allowing, when I get feedback from the universe saying, this is something you're really good at, even though I might not feel it myself yet, I'm willing to go, okay, I'm getting messages out here. It's important to listen and slow down, and to really forgive myself for any judgments, we call it the itty bitty shitty committee. The inner critic wants to go, no, you suck, and wants to protect me. And I just say, I love you. Well, we're going to step into this. Like, I won't let that voice rule me anymore.
Well, I hear a couple things in that, of like a way that you work with yourself now, that with your own practice and with expanding it, and because the voices still come up, right? It's like, as we're doing this process of self-forgiveness, like it doesn't really end. And that's a blessing, because it's really just showing each one of us, hey, here's our next opportunity to grow and to be more aware of who we are, and to apply tools like self-forgiveness to assist that. So it sounds like that you have this inner critic, the itty bitty shitty committee, which I think I'm adopting for the group. I must say, I love that phrase. That's awesome. And when that comes up, it sounds like one of the tools that you use is to pause, to slow down with yourself, to say, I love myself, because that's key, right? And to do forgiveness and say, hey, even if this, and let go, and that even if there's some discomfort, that's fine. You're going to do it anyway. Is that accurate?
Yeah. And I think the biggest realization was, and I appreciate you saying that, because this isn't about like you do it and then all of a sudden everything is like,
right.
More, how am I going to respond and relate to it? How am I used to think that you can't do it was the truth. But when I really reframe it, it's like, no, it's just trying to protect me on some level. It's not really the truth. It's just trying to keep me safe. When I look at the bigger picture and I realize I'm safe on all the levels because of my relationship to my higher power, that's where my true safety is. My true safety, that's where it's going to work out. and just to be loving and caring with that voice.
Absolutely. And one thing that's really cool is that voice that says you can't do this. I mean, what's the name of your business?
Let's do this.
That's right. Exactly. So, Amy, thank you so much. And how I'd like to wrap up, one of the keys that I'm aware of, I study with, as I know you do, with a spiritual teacher, John Roger, and he talks about how gratitude, and it's not the only one who said this, how gratitude is a key to abundance and to being open to receive. When we're really grateful for what we have and what's in our life, it can just open us up to that endless supply. So could you share something that you're really grateful for in regards to like what's coming in your life?
That's a really good question, Debbie. See, you're such a good coach.
Thank you.
What am I grateful for? I think I'm really grateful. I'm grateful for all the support in my life. Like when I look at it, I used to run the story a lot that I'm alone.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of forgiveness came into, because that's just not the truth on many levels. And, you know, I think too, my biggest growth with the financial is, you know, also has been taking classes, hiring a coach. I was a part of a really, it was called the Wonder Woman coaching group. It was my friend Carolyn did with 6 other women. And to have that support of the sisterhood of all us supporting each other in our wins was really, really amazing. And, you know, I'm director of Carolyn's coaching school too. And to really step into a level of service and support other people and having that, like, we're not alone. Like I said, if we were meant to be alone, there would only be one person on the planet. There's like, what, 8 billion of us? And it's, clients are everywhere. Support is everywhere. And the more I've been able to be open to receiving that support has helped me a lot too. So I just really encourage everybody, you know, this is why it's important to do these types of groups. You don't have to do this on your own. Being in a group, support people in the encouragement and in the accountability. And if you really want to change it, don't do it by yourself. Do it with the support of a coach like Debbie, or people in your life that you can turn to that really see the bigger picture for you. A good friend of mine, just if I could end on this, my good friend, Michelle Bauman, she died when she was 48 years old. She was an amazing coach. And I remember Michelle saying to me when I was kind of stuck in this job where I wasn't making a lot of money, she said, you know, Amy, my goal is to dream big for you. And I remember crying when she said that to me. It was like, she could hold a bigger picture for me when I couldn't. And that's why it's important to do these types of groups. So even if you can't see it, if somebody else can see it for you, it just will change your life.
That's beautiful. That's the best way that I can think of to end this. Amy, thank you. And I acknowledge you for all of the growth in your life from, you know, really, you know, not having a job for a while to doing your money magnet, to starting to create more with your coaching practice, to doing the groups that you did, to doing your work to release limiting messages, to starting your own business, Let's Do It, as a wonderful response to that voice inside that said, you can't do it. And most importantly, to love that voice and to really educate that part of you that there is endless possibility. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Sign up for Debbie's group. She's amazing.
Thank you. I did not pay her to say that. So listen, for those of you who are listening, who are watching here, if you would like to learn more about self-forgiveness and money, there are a few ways to do that. You can go to my website, forgivingconnects.com/money. And I'll post the link wherever I'm posting this. There will be a link for that. And you can also email me at info@ selfforgivingconnects.com. So blessings to all. Have a fantastic day. And Amy, thank you again. This has been really educational for me and is now reminding me to really start my money magnet. So very cool.
Take care, everybody. Good luck.